Corinthians chapter 1. 1 Corinthians chapter 1. And y'all, I'm excited. Pastor Maria will be preaching next week. So I'm looking forward to that. Real quick, as y'all are doing that, if y'all can, October, and a lot of people don't, unless you grew up in church, you don't realize it, but October is Pastor Appreciation Month, in which you take some time and you recognize and you appreciate your pastors. Pastor, I got asked yesterday, because we were at Eric and Kathy's wedding, and one of the people asked, because if you've ever been to any of the weddings that I do, if you're a Veritas family member, one of the parts of the wedding ceremony is I ask for the pastors of the church to come up and lay hands on me. And yesterday, when I said, can their pastors come up, the stage filled up. And I got asked during the reception, how many pastors do y'all have? And right now, currently, we have 5. There are 5 pastors here at Veritas, and that would be me, Pastor Monica, Pastor Trish, Pastor Maria, and Pastor Gerald. Fantastic group of people. If y'all can today, before y'all leave, I know Pastor Gerald is at home dealing with the air conditioner that went out. But before y'all leave today, can y'all tell Pastor Trish and Pastor Maria how much they mean to y'all? And Pastor Monica, listen, this, being a part of Veritas is difficult in and of itself. Being on the leadership team is even harder. We are, for those who don't recognize and realize, we're an apostolic church, which means that one of the things that we do is that we tear down traditions that are not biblical, and we reform, meaning that we tear those things down that don't need to be there, and we build up things that do need to be there. Which means that your leadership team, your pastoral team, comes under demonic and satanic attack on a daily basis. It is hard to be on the leadership team at Veritas. We've had a lot of people who thought they could do it. We've had a lot of people who have tried to do it, and they didn't last. The people who are on staff right now, those pastors that I just mentioned, as well as Minister Paul, they've been doing this now for a couple of years, and they have been through hell on earth, and they have survived. They are amazing, amazing individuals that Pastor Monica and myself could not be prouder to say that they are our partners in ministry. So if y'all can, at some point today, let those 4 people know, and Pastor Monica, how much they mean to you, because they are incredible, incredible people. Amen? Thank y'all. Thank y'all very, very much. 1 Corinthians chapter 1. We're going to be picking up in verse 10. And last week we started this whole series on 1 Corinthians talking about the love of a father, of a true father. Understanding that the church at Corinth had a lot of issues, a lot of things that were going on. And the Apostle Paul could have written a letter to them and just lambasted them, destroyed them, and told them about all the evil things that they had done. According to what we understand by reading 1st and 2nd Corinthians, there were 4 letters that he wrote to the church of Corinth. This one that we're reading right now, 1 Corinthians, is considered to be his 2nd letter. His 1st letter, we have no idea what happened to it. We don't know where it's at. Then we have 1 Corinthians, and supposedly there was another letter that was written in between 1 Corinthians and 2 Corinthians that we don't know of. We don't know where it is at. Which, in my personal opinion, if we don't have it, it wasn't that important. It was 1 Corinthians and 2 Corinthians that the Holy Spirit wanted us to learn from. So, a whole bunch of stuff going on at the church, a whole bunch of just nastiness. And he started the letter out by talking about how awesome they are. How many times have you gone into a meeting with someone who was over you, whether it be a spiritual father or mother or a pastor, whoever it may be, and they start the meeting off telling you how great you are? Most of the time when we get called into a butt-cut whooping meeting, what happens? What's the first thing that comes out of the mouth? I'm so disappointed in you, right? I'm so disappointed in you. But that's not how the Apostle Paul handled it. The Apostle Paul handled it in an incredible way. He told them that he loved them, reminded them who they were, and then we're going to pick up in verse 10, where it now starts to say, listen, guys, let's talk. So verse 10, I appeal to you, dear brothers and sisters, by the authority of our Lord Jesus Christ, to live in harmony with each other. Let there be no divisions in the church. Rather, be of one mind, united in thought and purpose. For some members of Chloe's household have told me about your quarrels. My dear brothers and sisters, some of you are saying, I am a follower of Paul. Others are saying, I follow Apollos. Or, I follow Peter. Or, I follow only Christ. Has Christ been divided into factions? Was I Paul, crucified for you? Were any of you baptized in the name of Paul? Of course not. I thank God that I did not baptize any of you except Crispus and Gaius. For now, no one can say they were baptized in my name. And here the Apostle Paul's age shows a little bit. He says, oh yes, I also baptized the household of Stephanas, but I don't remember baptizing anyone else. For Christ didn't send me to baptize, but to preach the good news, and not with clever speech, for fear that the cross of Christ would lose its power. So here we have the Apostle Paul telling them and reminding them, you guys are awesome. I love y'all. Y'all have been set aside for a work of God. God is doing some incredible things in y'all. However, we need to discuss something. Some people from Chloe's house, and y'all remember during this time, there weren't the church buildings that we have today. So the church met in people's houses. And there are some who would like to tell you that they were small gatherings like our life groups, but they really weren't. There's evidence now that there were some church houses that housed over 1,000 people in them. So many of the people who talk about this time frame haven't actually studied it. They need to go back and study this a little bit. But Paul tells them, hey, some of the people from Chloe's household have come to me, and they have told me about the fighting that's happening. Y'all are bickering, y'all are arguing, y'all are quarreling amongst each other. There's dissension, there's brother fighting brother, sister fighting sister, there's gossiping, there's backbiting. It doesn't sound like any church today. Right? Doesn't sound like any church today. See, when I say that the things that we as a church deal with today are as old as the church, they are literally as old as the church. These are things that we've been dealing with from the beginning. Your church, or whatever church you may have come from that dealt with this, was not unique. Okay? Has anybody here ever been in a church that had arguing and backbiting?
Yeah.
Anybody?
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome to the church. Okay? That is people. Okay? So let me ask you this. Because a lot of times we'll say, I'm not going to church because there's a whole bunch of hypocrites, right? Or I'm not going to church because there's gossipers. Or I'm not going to church because there's backbiters. Or I'm not going to church because so-and-so hurt my feelings. Let me ask you, has anybody worked somewhere that there were backbiters and backstabbers? Has anybody worked somewhere that there were people talking crap about you? Okay, let me see if I can make this a little bit simpler for you. Were there people there?
Yeah. There you go.
Okay. It's people, it's not the church. It's people, it's not your place of employment. There were still people talking about you, but you still went and clocked in every morning, didn't you? Okay? You still went and clocked in. It doesn't matter what church you go to, what denomination you go to, what part of the city that you go to would be in church. It doesn't matter if you're in a house, it doesn't matter if you're in a building, it doesn't matter if you're in a small building or a large building. When you put people together who are not finished works yet, Jesus is still working on them. When you put people together, you're going to get your feelings hurt. Okay? That's the way it works. It's supposed to work that way. I am supposed to hurt your feelings. You are supposed to hurt my feelings. Okay? That's why Solomon, when he writes Proverbs, he says, what was that? Iron sharpens iron. Okay? Iron sharpens iron. Has anybody in here ever sharpened a knife? Anybody? All right, when you're sharpening a knife, okay, there's friction. Right? There's friction. And anytime you have friction, there's what? What builds up? Heat builds up. Discomfort builds up. Okay? Which is what causes the change and causes the blade to begin, parts of the blade to come apart and to come off so that it begins to sharpen. Now, the parallel of that to working with humans. Anytime, this is why iron sharpens iron. Anytime you have a brother and a sister, or a brother and a brother, or a sister and a sister, you put them together and you say, hey, I need you to work on this, or I need you to do this, or I need you to accomplish this. Anytime that takes place, okay? Because we may have all been created equal, but we were not all created equally. Okay? Meaning, you have different thoughts, I have different thoughts, you have a different opinion, I have a different opinion, you approach life from a different perspective than I approach life from, correct? Which means that when you throw us together and you say, I need you to accomplish a task, you're going to have your way of accomplishing it, and I'm going to have my way of accomplishing it, and 100 different people are going to have 100 different ways of accomplishing this. Which means that somebody's going to get their feelings hurt. Because it didn't get accomplished the way I wanted it to get accomplished. Does it really matter as long as it gets accomplished? As long as it gets accomplished, does it really matter? No, it doesn't. So Paul is dealing with these people and he's saying, listen, y'all have quarreling among you, and it shouldn't be that way.
That's right.
It should not be that way. Here's the Corinthian church, a church that is caught up and struggling in a world of sin. The Corinthian church itself is having this go on among its members. His members are having orgies, there's drunkenness, there's incest, there's backbiting, there's gossip, a whole bunch of other stuff. And all of this he could have addressed, and it could have been, I mean, come on, really? I mean, if this was going, I mean, it is going on in the church today. But if we had a church in which all of a sudden we realized that some of his members are having orgies, okay, or that there's incest within the church, if you were writing a letter, don't you think that'd be one of the first things you talk about? It'd be one of the first things I address, right? Thank God I'm not the Apostle Paul. Because the Apostle Paul doesn't even address this stuff yet. What's he address? The first thing he addresses, as far as issues are concerned, y'all are fighting amongst yourselves. Y'all are arguing about who's better than who. When none of you are better than the other. This same stuff happens today. We argue with each other and we fight with each other about who is better. And this shouldn't be. We see it all the time. Listen, great example of this. Great example, and I'm going to use it because it's all over my Facebook right now. So I'm going to use it. Kanye. How many of y'all, all right, there's some of y'all in here, don't be ashamed, y'all grew up listening to Kanye. How many of you in here grew up listening to Kanye? Okay. He just dropped his first Christian album this week. He got saved back in April, I believe. Okay? And I'm talking like sold out saved. Not like I'm just gonna be a Christian for fun, but like sold out completely. If you listen to some of the things that he says in some of his interviews, he's radical right now for Jesus. But do y'all know who his biggest opponents have been? I like to refer to it as the older brother syndrome. They're jealous. Okay? He dropped his first Christian album, and we're fighting about whether or not it should be listened to because of stuff he used to do. Shit. Wait a minute. How many of you in here does not have a past? Does anybody in here, you were perfect from the time you were born? Other than Justin. We'll talk later about pride. Everybody in here has a past, correct?
Yep.
Aren't you thankful that you're not held accountable for your past actions when it comes to your relationship with God?
Amen.
Okay? But we've got a whole bunch of people who are saying that they're better than Kanye. Now, is his new music the best in the world? I wish he'd spent a little bit more time working on it. But the dude laced his entire album with nothing but Jesus. That's it. His whole new album is just straight up Jesus. That to me is awesome. That is awesome. It's fantastic. But the church is looking at him and saying, hold on. We remember what you used to. Y'all know who else was like that? The Apostle Paul.
All right.
The Apostle Paul.
He was
The Apostle Paul used to murder Christians. But now thanks to the Apostle Paul, the majority of our New Testament is because of him. So Paul tells the Corinthian church, he could have dealt with all of this stuff. All of this stuff. Okay? But he didn't deal with it yet. He deals with it later on in the book, or in the letter. But the first thing he deals with is y'all are fighting with each other. Acting like one of you is better than the other, and that's not the case. You're not better. So just stop it. He tells us in verse 10, live in harmony. Live in harmony. That does not mean that we have to agree on everything. That does not mean that you and I have to see eye to eye on everything. I can respect you and honor you without agreeing with you. Now, if you cannot respect somebody and honor somebody while disagreeing with them, that would be because you are immature. Okay? If you have to agree with somebody on everything 100% for you to be able to sit at a table with them and eat, you are the one with the problem, not them. He says, live in harmony. As a matter of fact, in one of his other letters, he says, as far as you are concerned, live at peace with everybody. But you don't know what they said to me. I don't care what they said to me. You cannot hold somebody else up and their issues to justify your issues.
That's right.
Your issues are not justified because of somebody else's issues. You are held accountable for your life yourself. But you don't know the way they looked at me. I don't care how they looked at you. Just because the way they looked at you is not justification for you to give them a royal smackdown. It doesn't matter that they looked at you like they could kill you. It doesn't matter that they wanted to kill you. You are responsible for your actions. You are responsible for how you live with people, not the other way around. Most people's stress comes because they can't control other people's actions. Most people's stress comes because they can't control other people's actions.
That's right.
Other people's actions are not your business.
Amen.
90% of the stress in your life would disappear if you would just simply let go what other people are doing.
Yes.
That's on them, not on you. They treated me like crap. So? Why is them treating you like that's a reflection on them, not on you. Let it go. That's not you.
Sing the Frozen song.
At least it shouldn't be you. But some of you, let's just be honest, sometimes we justify their thought process about us because of the way we treat them, because of the way we thought that they thought about us. Did y'all catch that?
Yes.
So when it boils down to it, we's the problem. There's this whole saying, well, if they would respect me, then I would respect them. That is so anti-Christ, it's not even funny. What do you mean anti-Christ? It's, okay, anti means against. And in Christ, you know the way we're supposed to live? Like Christ. And last time I checked, Jesus honored and loved everyone, even Judas. Some of y'all backslap your Judas as soon as you realize what he's about to do. not realizing that what he's about to do or what she's about to do is going to set you up for your future.
Come on now.
Y'all cut your Judas off before they were able to fulfill their work in your life. I said, oh, they're going to hurt me. I ain't going through that. Well, you haven't grown because you haven't been hurt. Never mind. Let me stop. Let me stop. He says, live in harmony with everybody. Live in harmony. Okay? Ask yourself, can you be honest? Have you been doing your best to live in harmony with your brothers and sisters? Or when your brothers and sisters piss you off, have you been avoiding them? Avoidance is not of the Holy Spirit. He has never avoided any confrontation. Ever. Sometimes you avoid confrontation because you know you're in the wrong. Oops. Did I just say that out loud?
Yes, you did.
Sometimes you avoid the confrontation because you know that you're in the wrong and you don't want to have to face that fact. Look, I had somebody not too long ago send me a message, a very long message. Somebody that has done a lot of damage to me and my family. And sent me a very long message, and they sent the message and they said, can we just forget everything in the past and act like nothing has happened and just go back to what we were doing? Okay?
That's the first time I heard him.
Y'all know what my answer was?
I already did that.
My answer was no, we cannot. If you would like to move forward and grow and actually build this, then we have to confront the issues that have taken place and actually work through them.
Yes.
We don't grow by hiding from an issue. Okay? Some of us have relationships that are in shambles right now because we've refused to confront it and we've refused to acknowledge I might be wrong. Living in harmony means that we come together and you show me where I'm wrong and I show you where I'm wrong. Just because you disagree that you're wrong doesn't mean you're right. Are we clear on that?
Yes.
Just because you say that you're right doesn't mean that you're what? Right. You could be very, very wrong. So it says live in harmony. What does that look like? Okay, here's how that looks like. Somebody offends you and hurts you. Okay? And there's a difference between offense in the scripture and hurt feelings. Just because your feelings are hurt doesn't mean that you're right. Okay? Oftentimes your feelings can be hurt for a real good reason. We understand that, right?
Yes.
And just because your feelings are hurt does not make you the victim. Let me drop a little bit of truth on you, okay? Let me drop just a little bit of truth. If you are feeling like you are always the victim, okay? Every relationship that you are in, you are always the victim, okay? How about lose some people here? If every relationship that you are in, you are always the victim, you are probably the narcissist.
Oh, not the word.
Did I just say that?
Come on now. Come on now.
Did I just say that?
Oh,
The Apostle Paul says to live in harmony, okay? If all you can focus on is that you're the victim, then you're not trying to actually see how to restore something. All you're trying to see is something, all you're wanting other people to see is you're justified because you've been having a pity party.
Check good. Check good. Check good. Come on now. Preach on. Come on now. Dealing with this at home.
Are we good? I still love y'all.
Love you too.
So,
he's over here killing our age.
so it says live in harmony. All right, just don't be tagging me and stuff just yet, Pastor Maria.
Come on now. Come on.
He says live in harmony with people. But then what else does he say? What else does it say in verse 10?
Come on.
Let there be no divisions in the church. Rather, be of one mind, united in thought and purpose. Be united in thought and purpose. This does not mean that we're all robots. Okay? This does not mean that we're all robots. We have gone over what we as believers are supposed to agree on. Okay? If you need a refresher in that, Google or Siri Nicene Creed. That is the basics. The Nicene Creed is the basics. That is where we need to be. That's where we need to be in agreement as far as theologically. We can disagree theologically over some things, and we can still advance the kingdom of God. And I was telling TJ the other day that I've got some friends that they have one train of thought when it comes to theology, and we disagree violently on that. If we ever listen, we've actually had to come to the agreement that we don't discuss that aspect of theology. And guess what? We came to that agreement as mature adults, and we still love each other, and we can still work together, and I can still support them, and they can still support me. We don't have to agree on everything 100%, but we do have to be. We do have to work together. We do have to work together. So he says, live in harmony, be united in thought and purpose. Listen, find yourself a church in which you can agree with their mission. Okay? You can agree with their mission and with their purpose, and roll with that.
That's right.
Roll with it. Don't try to fight it and buck the system. Okay? Roll with it. And understand it. Again, just because you got your feelings hurt doesn't mean that you're right. So Paul is dealing with a group of people here in which, how does he put it? Verse 11. For some members of Chloe's household have told me about your quarrels. Some of you are saying I'm a follower of Paul. Others are saying I follow Apollos, or I follow Peter, or I follow only Christ. How does this look today? How does this look today? Listen, Veritas is very unique because we're a mosaic of multiple different denominational backgrounds. Okay? I think the last time that we actually checked, because right now we have a little over 200 people who call this home. And the last time we checked, we had people from Baptist background, Southern Baptist background, Free Will Baptist background, Pentecostal background, Charismatic background, Assembly of God, Church of God. We had Catholic. We had Episcopalian. We had those who didn't even grow up in church. So we have a mosaic. We have people from all different. We have apostolic. We have all different backgrounds. All different backgrounds. And today, when it comes to the church, most churches, those titles separate them. They separate them. I actually had somebody tell me not too long ago that they really loved Veritas and what we did. They'd never been here on Sunday morning. They came to a group that we had, and they actually told me, they said, I love what y'all do, but I can never come to your church. Why not? Well, because y'all aren't really Jesus' church. Well, what do you mean? Because you don't have Jesus Christ in the name. And I kind of looked at them and I said, what do you mean I don't have Jesus Christ in the name? They said, well, it's got to be, y'all have to be Veritas Church of Christ in order for me to be there.
What is Veritas? Somebody got me on that, and I said truth.
It is Latin for truth. Which, and this is what I told the individual. What I told the individual is, well, we kind of do have the name Jesus in our name. Because what did Jesus say? I am the way, the truth. Oh, so Jesus called himself the truth. And they looked at me and their argument was, well, it's got to be in English, it can't be in Latin.
Wow.
But I really like what you're doing. Great. There's a church right down the street that has Church of Christ in its name. They would love to have you. And she gave me a different reason why she couldn't be there. So these are things that separate us in the kingdom that should not be separating us.
That's right.
Okay? It should not be separating us. I don't care if you grew up Baptist. I don't care if you grew up Methodist. I don't care if you grew up Apostolic or Episcopalian or Catholic. I don't care. What I do care about is, do you have a relationship with Jesus? The rest of it will be figured out one day. Do you have a relationship with Jesus? We write off whole groups of people because they don't agree with us on one point of theology. And that shouldn't be done. It shouldn't be done. Do you believe in Jesus? Then we should be living in harmony and we should be working together. We should be working together. Listen, quarreling, strife, ungodly tension, a superiority complex, that's none of y'all. I'm sure. None of y'all deal with any of this.
Yeah, no.
Quarreling, strife, ungodly tension, superiority. These are works. These are works and strategies of demons. This is not godly. If this is at work in your life, if these things are at work in your life, this is not godly. And it shouldn't be so. And it shouldn't be a part of it. Why? Because the Apostle Paul at the beginning of this chapter says what? You are holy. So live like you're holy. These things are not part of holiness. These things are part of the world. These are demonic strategies in order to confuse you and distract you and get you doing something other than the work of the kingdom. If I can get you all pissed off that Sister Mary doesn't like the color of the carpet, then I don't have to worry about you stopping and praying with somebody. If I can get you focused on the fact that somebody looked at you cross-eyed, I mean, maybe they need glasses, who knows? But they looked at you cross-eyed, then I keep you from speaking a word of encouragement to somebody else because you're so focused on the fact that your feelings are hurt. How many opportunities do we miss to share the gospel because we're having a pity party that our feelings are hurt?
Come on now. Come on.
Just a thought. Just a thought. And don't forget, he tells us that, hey, we're supposed to be partners with Jesus, right? Can I be partners with Jesus if all I'm focused on is this? No. What are you focusing on? What are you focusing on? And listen, when other people come to you and they have complaints about you, okay? And this must just be me. But when people come to you with a complaint about you, that is a legitimate complaint in their mind. Listen to what they have to say. Don't throw out the baby with the bathwater just because you don't like being told that you've hurt somebody. You're not perfect. I am not perfect. And I made this promise to every single person who has become a family member here. One of the promises that I make is I will hurt you. How many of y'all remember me making that promise to you? I have told you, I will hurt you. Why? Because I am a man. And I make mistakes. You will hurt other people. So when they come to you and they tell you, or you find out that you've hurt them, listen to the complaint. Listen to it. Because our number one priority here, according to Paul, is to do what? Live in harmony. So listen, I listen to what they have to say. I ask those who are closest to me, who I know will actually tell me the truth. And the reason I know they will tell me the truth is because they're not scared to cuss me out. I'll ask them, hey, this is what I've been told about me. Is there any truth? And when they looked at me and they said yes, I have to go apologize to the person I've hurt. If you don't have people in your life who will hurt your feelings, you don't have true friends. I have got some really great friends who take every opportunity they can to hurt my feelings. And I appreciate them for that. Okay? All of y'all know Jalen, right? That joker will fillet me alive for fun. And he's been invited to do that multiple times. Find somebody that you can trust to hurt you and still love you when they're done. Because that is the kind of person who's interested in your growth, not just in abusing you. There's a difference in abuse and challenge. Okay? If all I have, James, if all I ever do is tell you what you've done wrong, and I can never give you a way to improve it, I'm abusing you. Do y'all see the difference? If all I can do is point out your failure, but I can't point out your success, and I can't point out how you improve yourself, I am abusing you.
Yes.
And you need another pastor. Okay? If all you can do is point out somebody's failure, you have no business speaking into their life.
That's right.
Okay? If all somebody else can do is point out your failure, they have no business speaking
Come on
into your
now.
life. Cut them off quickly.
Yes.
Okay? Because those kind of people, the only thing they're interested in is making you feel like crap and having a superiority complex, which is something that Paul tells us that should not be in our life. Okay? The Corinthian church was a church that was caught in sin and holiness at the same time. This is something that you are going to deal with the rest of your life. As you pursue Christ, there are going to be opportunity on top of opportunity to get rid of your old self and to simply pursue Him. And that is not a comfortable process. If you want comfortable, Jesus is not the one that you should pursue. He's not. Because Jesus is interested in seeing you become the best you that you can possibly be.
Amen.
Which often means, guess what? We have to walk through some seasons of pain and growth. But while we're doing that, partner with Jesus and love the people around you. And sometimes loving the people around you means that you have to admit that you're wrong. Jesus is awesome. I don't care what anybody says. Yes, he is. And you know, I'm done with this passage of Scripture because Pastor Maria is going to pick up next week in verse 17. But we often talk about this. And for the past month, I've been the one talking about offering. And every time that we talk about offering, we always seem to talk about what? What is it? When I say offering, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Money.
Money, right?
Money.
Our offering is bigger than money.
Yep.
Money is a good thing. It's what keeps these lights on. It's what keeps us able to do outreach. It's what keeps us able to be able to do what we do as a united group of people. Okay? But offering and giving is much more than money. Giving is also seen in how you live your life and how you relate to the people that are around you. You can give $1 million and yet treat the person next to you like trash. And your gift means nothing. How are you treating your brothers and your sisters? walking through life with those that are closest to you. Closest to you are scared to tell you exactly how they feel about you, you have a problem. Those people closest to you should not be scared of you.
Come on, that's right.
If they're scared of you, you have a problem.
Yes.
How are you living your life? How are you giving? Because that offering, that giving, it has to deal with how are you also giving Christ to the world. Money is a great thing, but how are you giving yourself? You are more important than the money that you give. So how are you representing the kingdom? Are you doing it in a way that brings honor to the name of Christ or dishonor? Which one? It's something to think about. And I'll be honest with you, I mess up. There are plenty of times that I mess up. There are plenty of times that I don't treat a brother and a sister the way that I probably should. So when we mess up and we don't give the love of Christ the way we should, guess what? The sun goes down, the sun comes up, it's a brand new day, and a brand new opportunity to start over. A brand new opportunity to start over. If you're here this morning and you look at your life and say, okay, I haven't been living in harmony. I haven't been pursuing Christ with my brothers and sisters. And I've actually become a problem. Tomorrow is a brand new day. As a matter of fact, your next breath is a brand new moment in which you get to start over again. And when you get to start over again, do yourself a favor and be Jesus to as many people as you can. And understand that you are not held accountable to who you used to be. Even if who you used to be was 2 minutes ago.
Come on.
Go be Jesus. Be Jesus to the world. And be Jesus especially to those who are closest to you. Amen? I love y'all. I love y'all the whole bunch. Let's pray together. Daddy, I love you. I ask as we get ready to walk out of here that you will go with us. Holy Spirit, that you will saturate each and every person with your love, your grace, your mercy, your hope. That you not allow us to walk out of here the same as when we walked in. Give us an opportunity to love people today. Give us an opportunity to be Jesus to the rest of the world. But most importantly, encourage us and strengthen us to be Jesus to those who are closest to us. Remind us that we are to live in harmony. Remind us that we are to be, to the best of our ability, at peace with those around us. You are an incredible God. Thank you for allowing us to become your incredible people. And everybody said, amen.